Welcome to this explainer. We're breaking down the medical reality behind a massive injury scare that literally shook the 2026 World Cup. You see, just one game into the tournament, the United States got the absolute dream start they wanted with a huge 4-1 victory over Paraguay. But, well, that victory came with a terrifying footnote. Christian Pulisic, the undisputed face of American soccer, was forced off the pitch at halftime with a calf injury. Today, we're going to look strictly at the anatomy, the mechanics, and the underlying risks of this injury and map out exactly what his path forward looks like.
It became difficult for Pulisic to walk normally. That is the exact quote from the USMNT head coach. And honestly, it's pretty alarming. After Pulisic was substituted, the reality of the situation really started to set in. During that first half, adrenaline can mask a lot of things, right? But as halftime approached, and especially once he started to cool down, his calf muscles began to severely tighten. The discomfort spiked so much that he physically couldn't even walk normally. This wasn't just a tired muscle, it was a clear mechanical breakdown that forced the medical staff to make a strict precautionary decision to pull him from the match.
So that leaves us with an ultimate, high-stakes mystery right at the beginning of this massive tournament. Can Captain America safely push through this pain, or is his entire World Cup in jeopardy? Early reports suggest the injury might be relatively minor, but as we're about to see, calf injuries are notoriously tricky. Pushing through them before they're fully healed can turn a completely manageable issue into an absolute disaster.
Section 1. The World Cup Injury Scare. The 4-1 victory that came at a cost.
There's actually a crazy domino effect to how we got here. According to both Pulisic and his coach, he didn't just get hurt out of nowhere during the game against Paraguay. He'd actually sustained a similar knock to his left calf during training earlier in the week. Then, during that crucial first half against Paraguay, he took a direct, blunt force blow to essentially the exact same area, severely aggravating that initial injury. He tried to tough it out and keep playing, but by halftime, the muscle had just completely tightened up. It's pretty much a perfect storm of cumulative physical stress.
Right now, it's all about damage control. The medical staff's primary focus is on reducing inflammation and protecting that muscle. So they've placed him on a highly modified day-to-day rehab schedule. That means he's currently doing stationary cycling, some specific gym work, and very limited individual field drills completely away from the main squad. They're carefully protecting the leg while they actively monitor his response to every single movement.
All right, let's jump to Section 2, Anatomy of the Calf, Understanding the Leg's Engine.
To really grasp the stakes of this injury, think of the calf as having two totally distinct engines. First, you have the gastrocnemius. That's the larger, more visible muscle, crossing both the knee and the ankle. This is your explosive engine. It produces the sheer power for sprinting, jumping, and rapid acceleration. Underneath that is the soleus, which is primarily responsible for endurance activities and maintaining stability while you walk and run. Fun fact, Pulisic actually has a history of injuring that soleus muscle back in 2024. But in a sport like soccer, where rapid acceleration and quick changes of direction are literally everything, that explosive gastrocnemius is the muscle most heavily relied upon, and therefore the most vulnerable.
And here's why an injury to either of those muscles is so globally devastating to a player's mechanics. Both the gastrocnemius and the soleus combine at the bottom of the leg to form the Achilles tendon, which then inserts directly into the heel bone. Because they fuse to pull on that heel, any damage anywhere in this calf system completely compromises the player's ability to execute that explosive burst of speed you absolutely need at the World Cup level.
Section 3. Contusion versus calf strain, the diagnostic showdown. Based on the direct blunt force trauma he took to the leg, what exactly are the medical experts trying to rule in or out?
The more optimistic scenario here is a calf contusion, effectively a deep bruise. This happens when a direct impact causes bleeding and inflammation directly within the muscle tissue. The symptoms for this? You get localized pain at the site of impact, tenderness, swelling, and a really distinct stiffness that makes pushing off while running incredibly difficult. So yeah, it's very painful, but structurally it's far less severe.
But then there's the alternative, the one that keeps coaches awake at night. If the force of that impact against Paraguay caused the already irritated muscle fibers, from his previous training knock, to physically tear, we are looking at a much more dangerous calf strain. Strains are graded in severity from grade 1 being the least severe all the way up to grade 3, and this is where the actual structural integrity of the muscle is compromised.
Section 4. The Recovery Timeline, Racing Against the World Cup Clock.
The crucial point to understand is that the recovery timeline entirely depends on the exact diagnosis. A mild contusion? That might only take 7 to 10 days to heal. A moderate contusion pushes that to 1 or 2 weeks. But if it's a grade 1 strain, you're looking at 1 to 3 weeks. And a grade 2 strain? That forces a player out for anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. In the context of a World Cup, a grade 2 strain entirely wipes out a player's tournament dreams. Since Pulisic is currently day-to-day and doing modified individual work, the desperate hope is that he has a mild contusion or a very low-grade strain.
Section 5. Rushing back risks everything. The illusion of safety.
Because he's out there right now, doing individual drills, it's super easy to fall into the trap of feeling okay. But the absolute biggest threat isn't necessarily the current state of his calf, it's the catastrophic risk of returning too soon. Imagine he has a grade 1 strain with microscopic tears. If he attempts to push through and perform explosive World Cup-level sprinting, the immense stress can instantly cause those microscopic tears to enlarge into a severe grade 2 strain. By just trying to play one extra match too early, a player can rip the muscle further and miss the entire rest of the tournament.
And there's also a massive subconscious danger of overcompensation. Our bodies are highly connected machines. When an athlete subconsciously protects a painful calf, they dangerously overload surrounding healthy structures. This sets off a brutal chain reaction that can lead to a terrifying checklist of secondary injuries: hamstring strains, Achilles tendon irritation, issues with the underlying soleus muscle, and even opposite leg muscle strains because the athlete is shifting their weight. Trying to protect one injury very often spawns 3 new ones. Finally, we have to talk about pure performance. Pulisic is a dynamic playmaker, right? His whole game relies on creating separation, rapid acceleration, and cutting. Even mild calf pain causes severe deficits in top-end speed and push-off power. Stepping onto the pitch with even a tiny deficit in that explosiveness completely neutralizes his effectiveness. He simply wouldn't be the same player out there.
So, the U.S. men's national team appears optimistic for now, but as we've seen, calf injuries are notoriously deceptive. As we monitor how his leg responds to sprinting in the coming days of his rehab, we're left to ponder this massive, tournament-defining dilemma. Do you risk the long-term survival of the team and the player's health just to win the battle directly in front of you? It's a heavy question. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see exactly how this high-stakes medical mystery unfolds on the world stage.